Hurricane Harvey is bearing down on the Gulf Coast of Texas tonight with all the markings of a major disaster. By early evening, the storm had sustained winds of 125 miles an hour and could get even stronger. Lisa Desjardins begins our coverage.
Waves battered Galveston and the rest of the Texas coast all day, the punishing winds and rain only beginning. From high overhead, cameras aboard the International Space Station captured the scope of the storm as it closed in. Texas Governor Greg Abbott activated 700 National Guard troops and braced for the worst.
We are going to be dealing with immense, really record-setting flooding in multiple regions across the state of Texas. You may think that the initial surge is something that you will be able to deal with. What you don't know and what nobody else knows right now will be the magnitude of flooding that will be occurring over the coming days in the aftermath of the initial surge.
Harvey is poised to make landfall overnight near Corpus Christi, but it's expected to stall and hover, inundating a wide swath of the state, including San Antonio and Houston, with up to 3 feet of rain. Then another weather front could push it back into the Gulf of Mexico to regain strength and strike again near Houston. 7 coastal Texas counties ordered tens of thousands to evacuate from low-lying areas. Other areas, like Galveston, only encouraged residents to leave. But the city's mayor warned the flooding will be worse than usual.
That hovering effect will impact us. We're going to see high tides come up. Our highest tide we anticipate will be in the morning. The bad news is they're not going down for 3 or 4 days. And so when we get those high tides in the morning, any of this rain we anticipate is going to stack on top of that.
Corpus Christi officials are also anticipating tough times.
When the power goes off, you can expect it to be off, depending on where you are in the city of Corpus Christi and in Nueces County, 3 to 7 days.
With that in mind, one hospital in Corpus Christi airlifted 10 critically ill infants from its intensive care unit. As thousands of others hit the road for drier land today, a few took advantage of pounding waves. But a county sheriff put it plainly: stay at your own risk.
I am not going to send a boat down there after we ask you to leave. I'm not going to put one of my deputies' lives in the line to go down there and get you out. So you're on your own.
Some boarded up their homes and hunkered down despite the warnings.
I'm scared, so I'm going to do everything that I can to protect our little place down here and hope and pray for the best.
In Washington, President Trump's Homeland Security advisor, Tom Bossert, said federal disaster preparations are well underway.
Right now, we're executing, and we're going to do what it takes to save people's lives and to make their lives easier as they sustain damage.
The president tweeted that he'd spoken with the governors of Texas and Louisiana and will assist as needed. And later, the White House announced he'll go to Texas early next week. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Lisa Desjardins.
The National Hurricane Center has issued very clear warnings about the danger of this storm. Ed Rappaport is the acting director, and he joins me now from Miami. Thank you so much for talking with us. What's the latest on Harvey's course?
The latest is that the center of Harvey is located only about 50 miles offshore between Corpus Christi and Port O'Connor, Texas. And we think that the center will be moving ashore there by about midnight. While the center's offshore, though, the strong winds and heavy rain and high storm surge are already approaching the coast. We've seen gusts now of over 80 miles per hour reported at Port Aransas, and the water levels are beginning to rise. And that's one of our biggest fears, is that the storm surge associated with the hurricane is going to rise to life-threatening levels.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. What is the greatest danger? It's flooding, it's that rain that's going to hover over the area?
Yes, the greatest danger from hurricanes is always water. 90% of the lives lost in hurricanes are due to water, and it's split. Many from storm surge, others from rainfall. In this case, we have both hazards in play. First, along the coast, we have that storm surge that could rise to 6 to 12 feet above ground level. There'll be waves on top of that. Then we also expect rainfall that's going to be near record levels. Here's the Texas coast. This area here, we're expecting at least 20 inches of rain, perhaps as much as 35 inches of rain. So very dangerous conditions, both from the sea and from the rainfall.
And Ed Rappaport, some concern this storm could go out and come back again and hit Houston twice?
there's some possibility that down the road, 3 to 5 days, that we'll have the system move back offshore. But at the moment, the biggest threat, the biggest concern is for that next 3 days with the storm surge, which will linger through many high tides, as well as the rainfall along the Texas coastal area.
I want to ask you to put this in some context, because we were looking at the warning the Hurricane Center put out just a few hours ago. Catastrophic flooding, life-threatening conditions. This is very strong language.
That's right. This, at the moment, appears to be the strongest hurricane that we've had make landfall in Texas in about 50 years. So I hope that provides some perspective at what we're looking at. The last time we had such a strong storm was actually in the Corpus Christi area back in 1970, or even before that, 1964, also along the Texas coast.
And I know you are continually giving warnings and urging people to pay attention. Ed Rappaport, yes. We thank you very much from the National Hurricane Center.
Thank you.
In the city of San Antonio, they are preparing for heavy rain, for winds, and for evacuees from the coast. Rod Nirenberg is the mayor. I spoke with him just a short time ago. Mayor Nirenberg, thank you very much for joining us. What have you been told to expect from this storm?
Well, we're expecting some localized flooding because of some significant rainfalls that will occur over the next several hours and several days. But more importantly than that, our area is a coordinated regional emergency operations center. So we've spun that up. We've been working with our emergency services departments over the last several days to prepare, and we've received a lot of the resources from different parts of the state that are now being deployed to the coastal areas, and we're also receiving a lot of evacuees from the coastal communities. There's a couple of mandatory evacuations, and then of course there are people who are leaving, which is a good idea with the path of the storm going right over them.
Well, before I ask you about some of that, I do want to ask you about the flooding, the rain you're expecting. What have they told you to expect? I know from historical experience, San Antonio has had some serious rain episodes in the past.
Yeah, and the projections have changed as we've moved along in this storm, and we're cautioning everyone to be aware of the evolving nature of the storm, that they could change again. But we know in San Antonio that a small amount of rainfall falling in a short period of time can create some flash flooding, significant flooding. We saw that as early as recently as 2 weeks ago. So we have been told to expect anywhere from 6 to 15 inches, depending on where you are in San Antonio. The heavy rain will fall east of I-35 and I-37. But again, that could all change. We're asking residents to please stay home, use some common sense, stay off the roadways, and if they have to travel, avoid low water crossings and be aware of their surroundings. We're going to have emergency crews operating. Currently, they're barricading known trouble areas with regard to high water areas, and we're also asking people just to alert our authorities if they find areas that are low, high water over the roads. So
you're not asking people in your area to evacuate?
No, San Antonio is not under any kind of evacuation. We're just asking people to clear path for our first responders and to make sure that the roads are clear as evacuees continue to come here. We've had 700 of them come already that are sheltered, and we have many more that are coming through our area or stopping in San Antonio on their own volition because they have wisely chosen to leave the coastal area. So do you feel you have what you need to handle the people who are coming into the city? Absolutely. We've been coordinating resources throughout the week, and San Antonio is ready. No one will be turned away if they need shelter in San Antonio, and we certainly stand ready, as we always are, in the event of significant storm, of rain or winds here in San Antonio locally. Are residents heeding your advice, the advice they're getting from city officials and from the weather officials as well? They are. Our residents here in San Antonio have been through this before. As I mentioned, we're in flash flood alley, so we've seen small rain events turn into flooding situations. So they're aware, but we want to make sure that also we're checking on each other, you know, neighbors checking on neighbors, but just doing the simple things, preparing for staying in during the vast part of this weekend and into next week, staying out of the way of first responders, and in the event someone can help, we're also taking volunteers and doing trainings through our American Red Cross all the way through tomorrow, and asking people to call our non-emergency lines to help with any assistance that they can provide. We also are asking them to download apps and stay aware of the changing nature of the storm.
What's your biggest worry right now?
You know, I'm not worried. I'm just prepared and working with our emergency services, our neighbors to our south and in the coastal areas. We're activated. We're ready. We know how to handle this. So it's not worry. It's just making sure that we're handling everything as it comes and ensuring that as people who do arrive from the coast who are worried about what they're going to arrive back when they go home, know that they have a friend and a neighbor and a safe place and shelter here in San Antonio.
Well, Mayor Ron Nirenberg, we certainly wish you the best with this and wish safety for everybody there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy.